Tell me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
All right, there he is. Freshest
hey, Enitan. Happy Valentine's Day.
I used to I had to try and get a little Bereolaesque myself.
I love it.
And I'm going to introduce you properly, but I just thought of a movie to drop in since we're doing love, black love movies.
Mm-hmm.
Love Jones, man. Love Jones was a great film. Neil Long and who was that? Help me. Who's the guy? Lorenz Tate. Yeah. They actually look like a good couple. Sometimes they match people. They don't look good, but they had the spoken word going, and that was an excellent love story. It actually had a good ending. A lot of these love stories don't. Like Carmen Jones, don't watch it. If you want to see a good thing, don't watch Carmen Jones. All right, there he is. Enitan Bereola himself. So I have to look at him and I got to read this. I got Wikipedia. I got it all there. Okay, I got it. Man, I do my research. So Enitan Bereola was born in San Jose, California. He completed his early education at Piedmont Hills High School. He attended Florida A&M. Man, that's such a, I got the greatest band. And let me say it. Other people get mad at me. Anyway, he attended Florida A&M where he studied computer information systems. He started writing at the age of 25. He is a three-time best-selling author, celebrity ghostwriter, columnist at Soul Train, and contributor to Essence Magazine for relationships advice columns. He is also the CEO of the Bereolaesque Group, a creative branding and publishing company based in the greater Los Angeles area. Obviously, needs to be updated. I'll write for him and I'll write him and tell him to update this in a time. What I wrote was that he's the author of 3 books: Bereolaesque, the Contemporary Gentleman and Etiquette Book for the Urban Sophisticate; Gentlewoman, Etiquette for a Lady from a Gentleman and the Gray; a Relationship Etiquette Study, and he is the co-founder of St. Miles Creative Agency. And the most important thing is that he is Street Soldier's favorite son. That's it. That's what it comes down to. So I don't think we've ever, I know we have, we've been in the air almost 30 years, which is great. Oh, look at Ann going in. Blowing up. Oh, now see, that's the picture I like. That right, that's the one. That's the inspiration. No, the tie. I love the tie. Wow. It was so, he was doing that. Okay, thank you, Ann. We may come back to that screenshot. Thank you very, very much.
The memory.
I know we had to have had a show on Valentine's Day before.
But
I don't remember.
I think we
and
did.
This is so, well, anytime when I wanted to get you on, I was talking about doing it last year. We had to find the right time. I just realized it's Valentine's Day. So I want to thank your wife for giving you permission Because we were gonna move the show to next week, right? I'm like, she's like, you can't have my man on Valentine's Day, but please thank her for letting us, do this with you. Okay.
I will. I have, and I will again. Thank you all so much. Look, it's good to be back. It's good to be with family. Y'all are like everything to me, I mean, it's always like seeing these things. I was just looking at this video that Ann did when I first went to the station, and she recorded me outside of the studio, and I was like young, and I was like, what am I saying? And I kind of was just saying what I was saying, and it all made sense. And I was like, wow, 25 years old. I'm 30. I just turned 39.
I was going to ask you, I know you had a birthday last Monday. Was Monday or Tuesday?
Yes, it was on Monday.
On Monday, yeah. 39.
So it's just amazing that you all have, I mean, every time I talk to you all, it's like we keep in contact off of the air, but it's just like, it's amazing that you all just validated me in the way that you did and just lifted me and believed, you believed and you continue to believe, and that means everything to me.
One of the reasons I wanted to do this during Black History Month, and, it just happens to also be on Valentine's Day, is we've been talking to the young people about making history, history, obviously Black History Month, and they study people from the past.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we asked the question last week, how are you going to make your history? I say history, but your history, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what you've been doing. I mean, you just made your own mark. You continue to make your mark. And I wanted to get you on the upward swing. I don't want to get you like Enitan 75 and he's a mogul, right? I want to get you during the journey, and I want to keep you on the journey, because it's just fascinating everything that continues to happen with you. And I go back to that first. When was the first meeting? I know we're on the fifth floor then, right? I think we were on the fifth floor. I don't know. We're on the fourth floor now. Right?
Being switched over, and then it was a new studio, and then it was like I've been through all the changes, but so have you all. You all have like been collectors of art, so to speak, right? Like you catalog history, right? Like whether it's human history or the art on the wall, but you're known for cataloging history. So for you to say like you've been a witness to me, like I've been a witness to it all as well. So I'm in awe, because as I'm moving through it, I don't necessarily see what you all see, because I'm in process. I'm going. I don't see myself making history. I'm just doing what I'm called to do. So it's amazing from your perspective as well. And it's
well,
kudos to y'all.
I gotta say, man, but you made an immediate. We've had plenty of guests on the show. An immediate impression. Now, was that literally? Was that 15 years ago when you first came? How did we meet you? Was it?
Okay, Oakland history, Air Lounge. I was a frequent visitor of Air Lounge, and Prentice was always at Air Lounge. It was like this mesh of all this talent at this very specific time. And DC was at Air Lounge. DC was interning at KMEL.
Right.
And he said, yo, I got to introduce you to this guy, Malcolm. After about like our fourth encounter, he said, I got to introduce you to Malcolm, and I'll see what I can do. It was very much kind of like, I'll see what I can do. And street soldiers, like I grew up on street soldiers. My brother, you're his kind of like mentor from afar, right? Like he always looked up to you, Dr. Marshall, growing up, and he was my mentor, my brother, and still is. So the history of what this is, it's like, it's as much as you all are, you have embraced me. It's amazing to be embraced. Like I live my life, as a purveyor. I'm a witness to my own life. I don't just like breeze through it. I'm watching, as you all are watching things happen, I'm watching my life as well. And it
makes a difference.
It's gratitude.
Watching it.
Well, and you having a ball.
Don't watch.
You're having a ball. I gotta go back. You were so good. I know it may seem, it's now 2021, and even with the young people we deal with now, they just don't. They don't really get how big thug life was back then.
Who was involved?
Thug life and grimy and all of that. and it was in the
all there
music,
was.
and it was in the clothes, and everybody's pants was off there behind, and you know, in fact, they had a song called "Pants Off, Pants on the Ground." You know, I mean, they had a song that they played on the air, and then here comes this young man, you know, who's like, and you introduced this whole word, this one word into all of that, and you wasn't playing with it, and the word was gentleman, right? And Mrs. Stell was there that first night, and I remember Alicia Marie was there that first night, and she changed. It just not look. Let me tell you something. You might have done something for a lot of people, but you really did something for her. I mean, look, the way you treated her that night, it just altered her mindset. Period. But Miss Stell, Lady Stell, I got to go back and forth with Lady and Miss because I forget it's not Wednesday, it's Sunday.
It's okay.
Talk about what it was like meeting him that first night.
Well, Enitan was just, for me, I mean, he was just a sweet young man. He had his ideas, his way of approaching and dealing with people and things, and his interactions with others. And he had this book. I mean, he was just very polite, very thoughtful and considerate. He was very well put together. He was just the cutest little thing to me. Okay. I mean, I'm going back, and that's exactly where I was. Just the cutest, I mean, just adorable. You see, and I've got a son. I mean, you know, you both around the same age, you know, the same kind of stature, the same, you know, but you had this whole philosophy and you spoke about it. But here's the thing that really spoke to me. If I can keep going, or do you want me to wait? It really spoke to me because I've seen a lot, and I've heard a lot of people talk about a lot of things, you know, and I've heard a lot of people preach a lot of stuff, and then they preach, but they don't do. It's what they say, but it's not how they live. It's not the way they are. It's what works. You know, it's what's going to get them attention. It's what's going to get them paid. And it's not about how they live. It's kind of like what we saw in DC. You know, in Washington, they say one thing, they do a whole nother. But I watched you because that's what I do. I pay attention and I listen well. And when it was all over, you went back into the studio and you picked up trash off the floor. You pushed the chair underneath. There was something left on the counter. You cleaned it off. You put it away. And you just kept on walking and talking just like it was the most natural thing to do. I said, now see, that young man, it's not about what he's saying. It's about how he's living. And you're just saying how you live. And you're living what you say. And that's what spoke to me.
You introduced, no, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. We're all like, this brother, I mean, you know, you introduced
somebody else's trash. You just reached down, picked it up. You just kept right on going, just like it was just the thing to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, in your suit, because he had on a suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Dr. Marshall.
Well,
that's what
Here's what I'll say. First of all, thank you. Secondly, I hear that differently as a father now, because I imagine as you're talking, I'm thinking about how my parents would receive what you're saying, and thinking to myself as a father, like for my son, my daughter to go out there and somebody to leave that, for them to leave that impression, and that to get back to me or people to speak to them in that way, it just resonates differently because, like you said, that's how I was raised. Like, that's just who I am. Like, my father, I was talking to him a few weeks ago and he said, son, you preach what you practice. You don't practice what you preach. I said, you're right. That is what I do. That is, and I think that's important because in that way, you don't have to, like, you know, fall victim to your words. You're just, all you're doing is saying who you are.
You don't have to remember. You
don't have to remember. You don't have to do what you're saying. Like, I forgot. Like, I don't even remember what you're specifically saying. But that's just, what's expected of us. That's just who we are. In our family, that's just who we are.
Man, it was just, let me just back up and say this one thing. You hear this thing about first impressions all the time. That was our first impression. And that you meet people and they say, the first impression is what people remember, and then put your best foot forward first and all of that sort of thing. We were like blown away. I know Alicia was blown away. And you introduced something into the jargon of, I will say, youth at that point, because you were youth, that was just non-existent. It was just non-existent. I mean, remember, we're a KMEL, right? And the music is the opposite of everything that you're saying, right?
Right.
I'm like, and so you introduce this, and you had the book and the look and so that, and you just have taken this thing. I remember the first book. Bereolaesque. That, you got folks wanting to be Bereolaesque.
And you know what's amazing? Like, okay, so we're discussing like you all and your perspective and what you've witnessed, and the fact that like I got to bear witness to a shift in society. That was always my goal. I had like a crazy, wild, audacious, impossible goal to somehow contribute to some sort of a shift, because society was absolutely going in a certain direction. Like you said, like thug life was in vogue, and it wasn't just like folks who actually live that life. It was people who don't live that life but aspire to, because that's all they see on TV, it's all they see on the radio, it's all that gets attention. So here comes me like trying to change the way that people see themselves and see the world. And the crazy thing is, like, I can step back and see that there was a pivotal moment where there was a shift, and society did begin to adhere to like a language and a lifestyle that was not in vogue. And I can pinpoint specific years and dates and times where things changed. So like anybody that's listening that feels like their idea is small, or feels like it's just them and what am I going to do, like the fact that you have that idea in you and you have that purpose in you, it's in you for a reason. Like it's going to be met if you meet that purpose. Like it will happen. I saw with my own eyes, obviously through community and through people who rally behind me, like you all, who were able to support what I'm doing, but me starting with this crazy idea to try to shift society and shift culture, and that happened. So it's amazing.
Well, yes. It's the whole thing. It was the chicken or the egg. And I mean, my thing is that there are a lot of people who want to be a certain way, but they need something or somebody to give them permission to be that way.
Yes.
To
absolutely.
me, you were the one who were, and I will use this word, convinced, convicted, and fearless enough, and believed in this is the way it should be. I mean, you just believed in it. I mean, nobody was talking about gentleman. What the gentleman? I could go back every word, and the last word that would come up with a brother would be, I'm a gentleman. What? And then you got the gentlewoman. I mean, you were like, to me, it was radical. I mean, it was but I'm saying radicals, it was so necessary. It was so necessary, man. And you were like, manners and etiquette and all that stuff. And then you got not only that, you put it in a book. And I'm reading that first book, and it's like, this is how you do it. And but you were gentle with it at the same time. It's like, I got this message. It's worth thing. I'm just gonna lay it out there and talk to you about it. And people will be like,
yeah, that was the response. And I never looked at it. I may have saw it the way you see it, but I never stopped at that point. Like, and it's funny looking back, there's something about youth. There's something about the audacity of the youth. I mean, you see it today, like now that I'm 39, I can look into a younger generation, Generation Z. I'm like, yo, these kids are amazing. These kids are just audacious. They're crazy ideas and they believe it. And they're pushing these things through and making us expand and grow and evolve. And for me, I didn't see it like the point where people would normally stop at the idea. I never saw it like that. I never saw it as like impossible. I never saw it as audacious or crazy. I really believed that if people just knew, if they just were familiar with it, they just were introduced to this lifestyle, this alternative way of living, they would embrace it, right? Like it gets you the same things that you're after, but just in a clean way. Like, you don't have to like do illegal things to get what you're going for. Like you can get what you came for. There's an entirely different way to do it that is simple, that's actually natural to who you are. But you just haven't been introduced to that. You haven't had the space to be able to identify with that person and embrace and accept that person that you actually were born as, right? Like we have the capacity to love, right? We have the capacity to do good and be good. But like you said, there's just not a lot of, there weren't a lot of outlets to validate that desire. So I just wanted to show them like, okay, whatever you think a gentleman looks like, the way he's been pegged and branded in society, it's not it. There's another way, and it's you, it's me, it's anybody. It's all behavioral. It's all about how you believe in what you believe about yourself. And once you exude that, once you put those internal beliefs and you put those forth externally, that's what a gentleman is. That's what a gentlewoman is. It's somebody who loves himself, somebody that if you love yourself, it's super easy to love other people. It all starts here, and all of these things are cliche, but I think it's just the package that this lifestyle has always been delivered in that's been the issue. It hasn't been received because it's just been like you said, stiff and bow tie and yes sir, no sir, and that's fine. But what about the person? What about the individual? I wanted to get back to the individual.
As you went on and doing your thing, and I know you spoken in many colleges and before many crowds, but early on when you would get in front of people, I'm thinking, let me just say college students, right? Folks your age, right? And you would hit them with Bereolaesque. You would hit them with gentleman, gentlewoman. What was their reaction like?
I think it was interesting because for a lot of people, it was refreshing. It was like they've been waiting for it, right? Like, and a lot of times it'd be people you wouldn't expect. Sometimes it's the individual that's already living that lifestyle and, you expect to get that crowd, but then it's somebody that, like even folks who called up to the station. And when I go to colleges, it's always, I remember like, there was always a group of brothers that would be kind of like in the cut. And you would think they were there because, they were required for a course or their girlfriend was there and dragged them out. But, once the crowd scattered, they would come up to me and say, hey, I really appreciate page 34 where you said this, or I really like appreciate, you coming forth and demonstrating this lifestyle because I came up like this, or I never saw this, or there was one person in my community, but I never thought that I could, reach that stature with them, right? I never thought that I could be that, or I saw this on TV, or so it proved my theory that the desire is there. Mm-hmm. Like it's easy people are human. It's easy to get across to people. If you have the patience and the empathy and the love to just talk to people and like cut through all the presentation, everybody has the same, we're all born from love. We all desire love. We all sustain off of love. Like these are necessary components to living. I don't care if you're a deer, a human, a man, a woman, like we all need love, bottom line. And the way that we demonstrate our need for that love, it's all over the place based off of our experience, based off of what we came up under. But I know that we all need that. And I've always had the ability to just talk to people beyond what they present to me, beyond what the mask, beyond what the role they assume, just spirit, people, truth. I can cut through to that. I see that. I see people and I speak to people.
And that leads me to, have you ever experienced any real blowback? Because, obviously being on.
Of course.
Because being on, being on the radio and telling brothers not to sell drugs and not to do this and not to do this. They would call in and like they would, you know, they were like, you must be crazy. I gotta do what I gotta do, blah, 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 you know, and then some, you know, but I knew that 2 + 2 was 4 and that wasn't gonna work. And, you know, I knew that they were, you know, so when you got the blowback, what was that like? And then just
well,
believing you're right is stronger than they're wrong. And it's not wrong, but believing in you're right, I guess, is what I'm really asking about.
For sure. I anticipated it. Like I dissected this entire thing, right? Like I wanted to make sure that the message got across. I didn't want to get in the way of my message. I know how I present. I know sometimes my presentation can be off-putting to those who don't understand it, right? Like if I don't come from where you come from, you may have your guard up. Right? Like if I don't subscribe to the same things you subscribe to culturally, you may have your guard up. So I'm self-aware, and I anticipated blowback. I anticipated, like, you know, folks who thought I was crazy. And again, the message is the message, and the message will penetrate through. So it's not about a linear message. It's not about me saying, don't sell drugs, pull your pants up. No, there's context. Right? Like that doesn't mean anything to somebody who has to sell it, right? Like be empathetic. If somebody's living a certain lifestyle, if there's a thief out there, if there's a robber, whatever, these people are doing what they have to do to in the situation that they're in the same way that if you switch the roles and we were in that situation, what would you do with your back against the wall and no resources, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's the empathy, it's the understanding. So it's not about don't do this, do this. It's about talking to human beings. And meeting them where they are, and not speaking over their head or speaking beneath them, but meeting them exactly where they are. And there is an art to that. There is a skill to that. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, but I attempted it and practiced. And I would go out and speak at, you know, radio and colleges and individuals and phone calls and emails and Twitter and Instagram and all of the everythings going on tour and learning how to just speak to people. And always remaining like at this, you know, this even keel level where, like Common says, no matter how much I elevate, I kiss the floor. Like remaining humble and knowing what I came for, remembering my why, and knowing that I'm on a specific mission, and not allowing like all of the things that come, you know, the fruits of my labor to get in the way of the mission. Right? No matter what it looks like, no matter, like, I'll do the dance, I'll do what I have to do to get in order to deliver what I need to deliver.
You become, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, you've become almost a cult figure with this whole thing. Really, you have. And there have been some, I just want to ask you, highlights for you, you know, just things that, I remember when I saw you on Sister Circle on TV One, I'm saying, Enitan's on Sister Circle, and the sisters, and they like, we have to have you back. They ain't give you enough time. I was mad. They give me more time to ask about relationships together, brother. Like, can you figure out relationships in 25 words or less? No, the brother didn't, right?
No, but they brought me back on a bunch of times, like maybe 2 or 3 times. But, you know, I mean, look, like, like when you send me text messages, sometimes like it's not, I don't adjust to the idea that, like, you know, y'all are like childhood heroes, you know. I don't say this just to say it, I mean it. Like when I like, sometimes I have to like step outside or just kind of like get still and be silent and understand like where I am and be present, because what I've seen on my journey, what I've experienced, it's a blessing. For what I'm saying, I'm not a rapper. I'm not like, I'm not an R&B singer, although sometimes I might look like one. I'm not like, you know,
you're
like,
not an athlete. You're not.
No, right. I'm a, you know, at the core, I'm a communicator. I'm an orator. I'm a writer. I'm an author. I'm, you know, like, I speak words. I deliver words. I communicate to people. And I can't believe the places that's brought me in front of, and the people I've met and the experiences I've had. I mean, some of the things, it's like, I don't even share because it's like unbelievable things, you know, like going out of the country multiple times and being stopped, you know, like, oh my God.
Well, we want to hear all of those. These one, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, out of the country multiple times and stopped by fans, sometimes they don't speak English, like my book being translated in Lithuanian and it being a bestseller there, and, meeting Oprah and giving her the book and, their network reaching out to me afterward. And it's so many experiences that are just beyond me. Like even now, in talks with making Bereolaesque a film, and I've been in talks for a few years. And
oh my God!
Together, like and even the book I'm writing now, Black Dad, becoming a film. And at a point, I will say that I adjusted. I got used to the fruits of my labor, right? Because I wasn't present. I was so future focused. Because I did everything I'm doing, I envisioned. I've seen it. It's played in my head before. So when I actually experience it, I don't receive the same benefits, right? The same satisfaction because I've already played it out in my head. So when I got my first award, I practiced that award speech when I was a kid. I didn't know why I was going to get an award, but
wow.
Yeah. So this is like God-given stuff, right? Like I used to practice my signature in the 3rd, 4th grade, and the same signature that I practice is what I sign in books. I didn't know I was perfecting it, but I knew I needed to, right? I knew I practiced my award speech and all that stuff. Like I didn't know why, but I knew that I didn't have the skill set as far as, like I said, singer, rapper to be able to like receive these awards or these accolades. But I did know there was something. I always knew there was something, and everybody does. Everybody that has a gift or something, that's some offering, some public offering, they know. You may not know how, why, what, but you know it's in there, and you may bury it or something, but So, I knew when I would play these things out. So when I experienced them, I just would breeze past. But I've learned to really center myself, because there was a point in time where I had to just like take a time out for maybe like 6 months and reflect on all of the amazing, every time I step out the house, people stopping me and saying like, "Oh my gosh, your book," and it's just it's crazy, right? I remember it started in the Bay Area. I remember it started in the Bay Area. I remember first going out in the Bay Area, crossing the street to go to I forgot the name of the place, but I was going somewhere, and this young lady was like, "Oh my gosh, Jonas, I love your book." And my friend was with me, and I was just like, "What? You talking to me? Like, what the heck is going on?" The response was I wasn't used to something like that. So, it all that fire was burning in the Bay Area. From Liege to Air Lounge and Era, and just all of the places, the district, all the places I would go, and just receive all of that support. It just grew outwardly and it became global. And, it's, I guess more than anything, I just feel responsible. I feel very responsible with the gift. So I'm learning not to hesitate, because I never have. But the greater you grow, the more you grow, the greater you become, the more you hesitate, right? Because there's things to lose, there's more at stake. But I'm letting go of that idea and getting back to no hesitation, way less effort, and just moving on my conviction, and getting what I came for.
Because of the books you wrote, and just the title will tell you, the Contemporary Gentleman Etiquette Book, Gentlewoman Etiquette for a Lady, Gentleman from a Gentleman, and the Gray, and then the Gray, a Relationship Etiquette. So you stepped into the field of relationships, right? Yeah, I mean, because and I could see why that young lady would like react to you, right? Because I mean, I'd assume it gave them a lot of hope that everybody was going to be, everybody could be a gentleman. And that's a field that, that's fraught with peril. And, just going in there and just, I got to admire you for that, because I wouldn't do it. I mean, I can tell you, look, I always tell people, I can tell you how to stay alive and free. I can tell you about Black history, but I can't tell you nothing about no relationship. So I ain't, I'll say you could read Enitine's book. It's called Enitan. So the fact that you are in that and working, with people to try and make that somehow work and establishing norms and establishing etiquette, how how we should treat each other. That's I mean, woo.
I mean, look, I think what you do is amazing, right? Like whatever Lady Estelle does is, but we all have our gifts and our offerings. And for me, I was always observing, and I would remain silent because it wasn't my business, whether it was, my aunt or my cousin, or when I was young, but what am I going to say to them? But I was observing and I had things to offer, but I just wouldn't speak on it. Or a friend, or even society, watching Basketball Wives and watching all these shows. I'm like, oh my gosh, and when I started writing specifically for women, and with Gentlewoman, it was really about, again, empathy. It's really about empathy and just really taking the time out to see things from their perspective. And when I say there, women aren't a monolith. Like really putting women in different categories. This type of this woman, this way, and shifting my viewpoint and looking at things from their perspective, and then saying to myself, like, well, of course they feel like this. Like, of course, take a look around. Like, it's obvious. It's painfully obvious if you just take the time to look, like really consider their perspective. I mean, of course they're saying what they're saying and they feel how they feel and all of these things. So I felt like, if I had the conviction and the opportunity to be a bridge, to be an ear, to be a support system, to offer something up that could be of benefit or value, then why am I remaining silent about it? And I had to mentally get past, the dejection I knew was coming as a man writing about women.
Man.
I knew that was like a going into a landmine, because it already exists and it's hardly done right. And I don't want to be pegged as one of those guys, like Lady Estelle said, trying to get a quick buck or whatever, manipulative. Like, I was coming from a very genuine and pure perspective. And I had to just, same way I did with Bereolaesque, like get past the noise and really focus on what you came for. Because that thing's gonna drive you crazy if you don't put your nose to the grind and do it. It's just gonna sit there. That purpose, when the purpose just sits in you, it like rots if you don't do anything with it. It rots, and then you feel it, and you're doing all this other stuff and try to ignore it, and you're just sitting there rotting from the inside out. So I knew I had to do it. I don't want to die with regrets and just like not be purposeful, like a Rolls Royce in the garage with no engine, just like sitting there, just useless, beautiful, but useless. So I said, all right, after praying about it and just like rejecting it. And that's one thing that I learned, the thing that I reject is usually what I need to lean toward. The thing that I'm afraid of is what I need to like go after. There's usually purpose in what I'm afraid of. So I just leaned into it, and I anticipated the blowback, and I prepared for it. I prepared every response. I prepared, like the cover, everything. The book Gentlewoman, like, it's a Black woman on the cover, but I intentionally chose a mixed race woman because I knew that Black women would say, well, why didn't you choose a Black woman? I wanted the book to be a mirror for you to be able to see yourself before you even open it up and look at the words. I wanted you to look at it, and whoever you are and whatever you believe, I want you to be that person. You're going to judge. If you're judgmental, you're going to judge the book. You're going to say, oh, why isn't there a Black woman? Oh, Gentlewoman Etiquette for a Lady. This sounds nice, comma, from a gentleman. Why is a man writing about women? If you feel like that, I want you to get all that out, because by the time you finish the book, your mind's going to be, I'm going to shift the goal was to shift your perspective and to make you really see yourself.
Enitan, I remember, Doc, when I tried to give people the book, Enitan, people got mad at me. I was like, hey, I didn't write the book. I just know the brother. The first book is really good. And I mean, it was, look, people was serious. They wasn't going to look at it.
Listen, first of all, good to see you, brother.
Yes, brother. I had to say
Secondly,
hello, brother
I love
Bereola.
those frames, man. Secondly, I know. I know that. Like I knew that without even you telling me because like again, I know the way I know the way people perceive things and I knew that there would be a certain sector that felt that way. So my goal again was when somebody's pointing their finger at you and they're saying, this is what's wrong, you need to pull your pants up, you need to do this, this is what people don't hear that. It's impervious to your ears. It goes in one ear out the other. It doesn't even, it stops right here. But when you allow somebody to look into a mirror and there's no escape, they're gonna see their reflection. And I don't need to tell you you need to change. I don't need to convince you you need to fix this. You can see who you are. All I'm trying to do is show you who you are. And if I can do that before the book is even open, just with the cover art, just with the title, like the title was intentional. I created controversy intentionally because I knew that it would create a conversation, and I knew it would present the opportunity to have a mirror put up. I could have just gentlewoman etiquette for a lady, and that's it. But that comment from a gentleman, that's gonna spark some people who don't jive with that. That's gonna make them feel a certain type of way.
Especially if you ain't seen a gentleman in a long time.
Wait, one sec. Wait. Brianna B. Serenity is sitting on her seat. She's been waiting to get in. She's been holding it in. And I've been trying. So B.
Sorry, B.
Go.
Okay. I don't know where to start. So, okay. So I'm 27. I'm gonna be 28 in June 15th. So
no.
with my experiences with men is that, so you've spoken earlier about like how people in general desire to be loved and they desire to feel like they should be understood, and all those things, which I do agree.
Mm-hmm.
I guess with my experience and just with other women, with my friends, is that the men don't feel comfortable, or they're just afraid to like surrender to us in a way. And it's almost like in return, they want us to surrender. They want us to give more, but from them, it's like they don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess my question is that why is it that men are fearful of surrendering in relationships?
That's an amazing question. You're on point with it. It's true. Surrender. I mean, I can even speak for myself personally. It's relinquishing control, and
Mm-hmm.
To relinquish control for a man who is supposedly supposed to assume control and assume dominion and be the leader, and you know that's hard to do, especially in a society that says women are second class, women are this and that. And it's awkward because like we love women, right? Like men, when a man loves a woman, like he even likes a woman or is infatuated with a woman, like we fight, we go to war, we kill, we lie, we cheat, we do whatever but we don't want to give up control, right? And a lot of times like it's like a lack of control. So it's awkward that we wouldn't want to adhere or surrender to or relinquish control to someone that has assumed the role of in the position of control for so long, and it's proven that like women mature faster than men,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you all go into things with a steady head and a steady mind, and like my wife is like she sees my blind spots, like as good as I try to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like she'll always, it's like this cleanup, like she cleans it up. It's almost like a taper, like you can just grow your hair and just shave it down yourself, but that edge up is something different, it's like that cleanup. So, you know, society has taught men that, you know, women are weak. Society has taught men that, you know, women don't have much to offer except, you know, things that are physical. And society is dead wrong. You know, when women are in control, like, you know, when women are in position, society is in a much better place. And you're already seeing that shift with, you know, VP Kamala Harris. You know, just the sentiment of society has shifted in that short of a time. And, you know, again, with me personally, my wife, you know, she had to teach me some of these things. And in her teaching me, it was like me unlearning what society taught me. But I had to be willing to surrender my ideas. I had to be willing to surrender, you know, my beliefs. And it wasn't easy, you know, because I was a man, and, you know, like, I'm from the Bay Area, and too short, need 40, although I was a gentleman. Like, I listened to that growing up. So you have that pimp culture saturated into the music, into the way of your life. And across the board, the way Western society, Western culture teaches men is just, it's backwards. So, you know, part of why I wrote and why I write is to, like, I understand that things are backwards, things are upside down. It's really to kind of shift your perspective. You know, like, I've been my most successful as a man being married to my wife. You know, like, I never seen as much, and I say success, not just like monetary, but just with my mental health, with my wellness, with, you know, my belief in myself, with my spirituality. You know, like, I've learned how to love. I just told my wife this the other day. Like, she showed me love in a way that I hadn't seen from anybody aside from blood, where you expect blood to love you a certain way. You know, she shows me unconditional love. She teaches me, like, how God loves. I witnessed this all from a woman, but it took me the maturity and the understanding that surrendering to her is just, it's like, it's saying yes to myself. And
when you have that conversation with a man, I mean, it's supposed to, I mean, like, you know, B asked you that question. When you have that conversation with a man, what is that like?
Well, first off, like,
no, I'm asking when Enitan had that conversation.
Oh, you're not, okay, you're asking him.
Not you. No, yeah, no, you're having it with him, and you're gonna get a different answer.
Sorry.
He asked, when he has that conversation, raises that point with a man, what's that like?
It's typically really easy. I usually bring it right back to his mom. And I just ask him, like, you know, how do you feel about her? Right? Like, what would you say about her? If I were to tell you to describe her, describe it. And it'll just, a lot of times, especially Black men, we sing our mother's praises. You know, we love our moms, right? And I'm not comparing, you know, your lover to your mother. I'm just saying, like, that's one in the same seed. Like, that's the same energy, same film. It's the same everything, right? Like, if we were to have a conversation, I'm getting to the core of it. I'm bypassing all of what culture has taught us. I'm really, like, asking you what you desire. I'm asking you what you lack. I'm asking you what you want, and I'm asking you what she's offering. And I'm also letting you know that, like, you know, again, with me, I knew that I resisted the thing that I always needed most. And that's always a sign to me, now that I'm mature in that thinking, that's a sign to me that I may need that. You know, especially when you unjustifiably resist something or someone, there's a core to that. There's a root. Let's go down that path. Why are you denying what you need? Where's the fear there? Let's talk. Let's get to the root, right? Like, if somebody offered you water and you were thirsty, you would take it. If somebody's offering you love and you're broken, you don't even deserve what this woman is offering you. Like, she's so, like, what are you running from? And a lot of times after the conversation builds, so does that mirror, and they can see themselves, and they realize that's exactly what they're running from. Because what a relationship does, a relationship is a mirror. The person that's closest to you will reveal to you yourself. They'll reflect you. That's how I look at my kids. That's how I look at my wife. If there's something wrong in my relationship, before I blame anybody, I'm looking at myself. My relationships are my mirrors. So when that mirror erects, and I'm able to see it, and they're able to see it, and they realize that everything they've been pointing their finger at, blaming somebody else, they got 3 fingers pointing back at them. It's a root cause to those issues. Like, you're not running from her. You're not running from a lack of control. Like, there's something else that you're running from yourself. And no matter how much you keep running until you face it, until you lean into that fear, every single relationship, every single thing that that gets close to you, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to present to you yourself. You're going to run, whether that's a job, whether that's an opportunity, whether that's a relationship. You're going to keep running.
I feel like.
What do you think? Go ahead. What do you think about all of that? Everything you said.
No, I was gonna say that because I've had conversations with men about healing, right? Because everything you just spoken about is a part of healing and running away from trauma from your childhood and wounds and all of that. And I think the problem is that most men they run away from that. They forget that they have these wounds that are not, all the way healed, and they look to women to guide them to be the mother that they wish, or a mother they have in the moment to guide them through their healing. And then once they're done with them and they built their house for them, they're like, okay, you can go ahead and leave. I'm good now. So that's the problem that like I've experienced too, where I have been the I guess the therapist for most men in relationships because they didn't know how to heal, and I was their person to not only project and to build their frustration on, but I was something they can just hold on to and their mask when it came to, I guess, their non-existing healing process.
Yeah, no, this is a beautiful conversation, and there's so many sides to it. One of them is in the same way that a man needs to take a look at himself. A lot of times, we will attract, our own until we heal from a trauma, like we will continue to attract that. And if you may have traumas of your own, right, that you may not have healed from, you'll start to see that in who you attract, because it's like a moth to a flame. Like that energy, it's understood and reciprocated. Like that's just kind of how life works. And it's troubling, but at the same time, I've also had a house built, so to speak, right? And once it was built, I said, okay, thanks. Thank you, goodbye, right? I've been in that position, and the way that I reconcile heartbreak, the way that I reconcile these pains and these misfortunes, it's like, every one of those scenarios taught me a lesson, and they also, more importantly, led me to exactly where I'm supposed to be, which is at home with my wife and our 2 kids, right? Like, had any of those situations worked out, I wouldn't be married to the woman I'm married to, and I wouldn't have the kids that I have, and I wouldn't have the life that I have. So I think it's also important to know that life is always happening for you and not to you, and that we're always being led, and that there are clues along that path when we shift our perspective. Yes, heartbreak happens. Yes, pain happens, but we have to know that perhaps we're being led away from a situation. I think the issue occurs is when we don't get the lesson, right? Like, we get the loss, but we don't get the lesson, and we keep on going back in that cycle. And that cycle is this man and this man and that man and that man that represents the same thing that we refuse to heal from. So in the same time that you may be tired of healing men and allowing them to, hand you the tools to build their home for them to kick you out, well, I would ask, like, is there something that you possess in you? Is there something that you haven't let go of? Or is something you haven't forgiven in somebody that makes you feel like you need to take the responsibility of raising a man, or providing, providing that healing for him, right? Like, or because it's not your responsibility, right? Now,
Right.
if that's a part of your purpose that's rooted in you, right?
Mhm.
Perhaps we may be mismanaging relationships.
Right.
Maybe we're looking at somebody we should be healing as your boyfriend, or maybe we're looking at this person that you're just passing through and getting the lesson is, oh no, he's cute, I like him. There's all of these things to consider. But most importantly, like, all of these conversations will always point back to us. And that's
Right.
why, like, in the same way that these men are coming to you to be healed, I'm in constant healing. Healing is a process. I've learned, like, I have a therapist, and I've learned that, like, I can't be my own therapist, though I give advice to others. I need my own advice, and it's a process. It's not like I'm
So
healed.
you should see Mrs. Stell. Angela, you gotta see Mrs. Stell. Mrs. Stell, she's putting up the hand, she's waving, putting up the heart. You own it. When this is, she got a signature move. And then she dip her head, and shake her head at the same time. That is when she's in complete agreement. And so I know she wants to say something, but you see, B, that's why when you ask me these questions, I'm like, don't ask me, ask Enitan. Because what he said, I mean, how he did that is something that most people, men or women, can't do. Go ahead, Mrs. Estelle, Lady Estelle.
There's a part of me that really would like for Brianna to continue, for the two of you to continue, because this
Me too.
is enlightening and necessary, not only for Brianna, but for anyone who may be listening. I'm going to get a chance to say if I've got to put it in the chat, but yes, you right, baby, you keep on. And Brianna, I think this needs to continue. I don't know how much time we've got, but Dr. Marshall, thank you for coming to me, but let's continue with this because this is important. But before Enitan, clearly there is healing, there is growth, there is understanding, there is a relinquishing and gaining that you have done over the time that you have been doing this work. I am like, all right. I'm like, bam. Yes.
There absolutely is.
Yes. So I'm going to go back on mute. And so Brianna, what, after you've heard what he said, what comes up for you?
Because it made me think about, I wasn't calling you because, Lady Estelle, I was just saying because, but it's not like that. But no, it made me think about how in my last relationship, that was so my nature is to be gentle with others and to, have that tenderness for people. That has something that has been passed down from, all the women in my family. My mom is very much like that, and it has been passed down to me. So in my last relationship, I basically had to be honest with myself and ask myself, why is it that I'm holding on to this relationship knowing that I'm doing the same thing that I'm doing in the past? I'm guiding these men in healing and they're not doing anything about it. They're comfortable. And it's almost kind of like running out of my battery for somebody else. And so I had to be honest with myself and just kind of like ask myself, like, is this something that you want to do? And if you want to do it, what are you benefiting from it? And I wasn't benefiting anything from it. If anything, I was losing myself for somebody else. And so I had to also let myself know that it's not my responsibility to guide someone's healing when I know nothing about, their wounds and their trauma and everything. I need to give that to myself first. So that was the first time for me that I had to let go and detach from that. And I also went to therapy for that and everything. And yeah, it's just one of those things where I had to just understand that it wasn't my responsibility to do that anymore.
Absolutely. You know, relationships are a value exchange, and it's a mutual exchange, and that's almost like a test, as if something is working or it's not. If you're depleted and you're not receiving anything back, right? Like you should, I say should because, you know, there are times when, like, you know, sometimes even in my marriage, like I have to, or my wife has to give 140% because I'm down, or I have to give 190, you know, to supplement. But it's best when, you know, you guys are kind of like mutually giving,
Each other what
pleading each other, so that you're both
yeah,
kind of fulfilling each other.
right.
So these are important lessons, and I say that um, intentionally because, you know, it's never a loss. Losses are all about perspective. It's always a lesson, and it's never a waste of time. There's always a lesson in it, and that lesson is for you to take those tools and take those lessons and then apply it to the next scenario. And
Right.
sometimes the next scenario is you, and just
So you
you.
know what's crazy is that it's great that you said that because I basically, so it's been about, I want to say a month now where I decided that I want to continue on with my solitude because again, I have this urge of, you know, this tenderness for other people, for other men, and you know, I just don't want to, you know, I don't want to continue that pattern. I want to be able to give myself what I want and, you know, follow what my interests are and also learn more about myself too. So that once I do date again, hopefully it'll be, you know, a different situation. So,
It will. It will. You set your intentions. You're mindful about it, and you're taking action. And those are what a lot of people don't do. The things a lot of people don't do. So you can expect what you're offering in your next go around, um, and enjoy it. You know, and also
right,
don't harden that heart. Don't let that heart harden, because if your natural tendency is to nurture and care for and love, then that's who you are.
right,
And you know, people who need that will fester after it and will, you know, hunt it down like a wolf. Like they can sense that in you,
oh yeah,
and it's not your responsibility to relinquish that. It's just this discernment that'll allow you to know, you know, where and when to apply and
right,
when to fall back and be in solitude. And because we have to, you know, get to a point where in our own restoration we have to rest, right,
right.
so that we can then go back out there and deliver.
I need to just check in with Brianna and understand what you've understood him to say to you.
Well, I mean, I've understood that at the end of the day, all I have is myself. And I just need to give it, I need to continue on with that path of alignment and continue on with giving myself what I need. And again, I'm being honest with my experiences and being honest with I have not deserved and what I didn't receive. So
And I also want you to really hear what he said about that hard-heartedness.
yeah.
When you're tender, that tender part of you is part of you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And to be kind and loving and gentle, loving is the easiest thing for us to do. When we love, that's just so, it's just, and that's a part of who you are.
Right. And that's
But
something that I'm not afraid to give out, you know, because I'm not afraid to give it. The thing I am kind of afraid of, which is why I want to be in solitude, is to give to someone else that doesn't deserve it and that is taking advantage of it. That's what I'm afraid of.
so you
Yeah.
heard what the fear is.
I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a time you do, and this is just magnificent. So
On Valentine's Day. I mean, you could never.
Hard-hearted, the tenderness of who you are, and to still be who you are. But he said something else is very powerful. And he said, he used the word to discern. Because when you're clear about who you are and what's important to you, what fills you and feeds you, and then to have that ability to discern, then there is nothing to fear because you see it, you feel it, you know. And you can love and be loving and give that. And then you know that this one you can give love to and say, and you take care. And then there's another that you can give love to, and then that one will say, and here's some love back, and you go, and you listen. Because see, discerning means to listen, to hear, and to listen with, how do we say that, Omega? More than your ears. But go ahead, Enitan. I need you to hear that.
You're saying it all. You're like, you're a whole therapist. You're like, you're feeding my soul too. No, yeah.
I am.
Now I see you. I've always seen you. I can't believe we're on air right now. It feels like I'm on just talking to just y'all. Right? I feel like I'm just talking to y'all. But no, I mean, I hope you receive this, and I hope that
hear that.
I know you are receiving this, and I know that, you know, it's a process and it's a journey. And you know, my therapist always says, give yourself grace. Because you know yourself best, and when you know yourself best, you're your hardest on yourself. But just give yourself grace, and it's available to you every morning. Every morning. Doesn't matter what happened the day before. Doesn't matter what the thoughts are. Even as you wake up in the morning and those immediate thoughts, it doesn't even matter what those are. The grace is always available. It's just about us receiving it. And I think a lot of times, I can speak for myself, we don't receive. We get compliments, we give them back. We get love, we immediately give it back. It's about sometimes like that stillness, I think, is a practice to be able to just receive. Silence, just receive. Be comfortable with receiving. That'll change a lot.
You know, for folks who weren't familiar with,
if I could add, I'm sorry, Dr. Marsh, and be fearless in your giving, but conscious at the same time.
That'll save you. That's a bar. That consciousness and that fearlessness is a bar, because again, like the thing about a hardened heart, when you experience trauma, when you experience pain, you know, you're like, I remember my moment in college where I was like, man, forget everything. And I was out there wild, man, you know, giving the same pain that I received and thinking that was going to heal me.
Right.
Until you come to a point, that intersection, the inevitable intersection, where you gotta see, you have to confront self. You gotta conquer that. It's the most difficult thing in the world to do, but it's possible.
For folks who weren't familiar with you, who, you know, are watching this, and who are going to, I know, you know, our downloads are crazy, Ann knows that. This is a great introduction into the work that you do, the lane you have stepped into. It's just a lot of admiration, because this is in many ways, when I talk about, you know, there'll always be a need for, you know, a program like Street Soldiers, always be a need for, you know, stop the violence, because violence has been here from the beginning of time and continues to be the so, you know, sometimes people say, Dr. Marsh, you're in a never-ending battle. Yeah, but it's like a battle. It's like doctors against disease. Disease is always going to be attacking the body, and you need doctors, you know, to try and prevent people from getting sick, or, you know, and help them when they do get sick. So it's the same with relationships. I mean, you have stepped into this, and you're just trying to help the people with something that's going to be here for time immemorial.
Forever.
And you know, I always, I mean, I like to say a lot of times that we got to pick the thing that we're good at. And you know, you have chosen this, and you're very good at it. And people respond to you. And for us to see you have moved from the beginning, you know, to taking, I mean, something like this must come up from you all the time. You must be get questions like this all the time.
I take phone calls from strangers that reach out on social and whatever, because like the through line for me is love. You know, I don't know how to do relationships. I don't know how to do gentlemen, and I don't know how to do any. It's just love is the core of it all for me. If it starts there, love is overpowering. It's all encompassing. It's sustaining. It'll figure its way out through love. If all I have is love, I'm good. Like, I don't know what I've learned on my journey of learning and receiving is I don't know much. Like, I used to think I knew a lot. I don't know much. I know that much. And if all I got is love, I got all I ever need. That's all I need on this journey.
Well, God is love.
But see that it guides you. And when I say it guides you, it speaks to you. It shows you. It gives you clarity. It surrounds you with people who will guide you and keep you and support you and remind you. Love will do that. It's like the magnet. Love and fear. It's like the magnet. When you love, you're going to be surrounded with stuff. And then that fear is what's going to show up are the things that you fear. But when you love, you've got a strength, a power, a clarity, wisdom, grace, understanding. You got mercy. You got so much that will guide you and keep you when you've got love.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, I like that.
That'll tell you when people say like, oh man, yeah, we got love, we ain't got no money, we need to get this money. Like, nah, like, listen, believe me when I tell you, like, I've chased money and I've chased money and I've received, I've relinquished, I've surrendered to love, and it's a whole different type of thing.
Like, it's not that kind of love. That's right, baby. I was going to say, that ain't the kind of love I'm talking about. See, love will make you listen. Love will help you hear. Don't get me started. See, I'm trying to be nice. I'm
trying to get you started because I see you trying to draw you up. Go ahead and preach.
Valentine's Day. You can go. You don't need permission. You don't need permission any day, but you definitely don't need permission on Valentine's Day.
Love will help you hear. Love will have you be still and wait. Love will give you the patience that you don't have to ask for. But then love will turn it all around and you haven't said anything except just keep loving. Listen, if you can do that, something's going to change. And then you get to choose. I'm going to tell you what he said tonight, and I need you to remember. And this is the one thing you need to remember, anybody that's listening. He said, we get the loss, but we don't get the lesson. You've got to get the lesson because life wants you to get and have the love. The love is in there and we're ready to give it, the easiest thing to do. But when we get hurt, we focus and spend time in the pain around the loss. And we miss the lesson. What is it that I need to know? Help me understand. What is it that I've done? What is it that I need to do? Talk to me, show me, help me see it. And solitude is great. Being still is even better because when you go back outside after the solitude, where you were is where you are when you get outside. Outside is where you get to practice and you get to see what you've learned. Get the lesson because life wants you to have the love and life wants you to be able to get through the losses so you can have the love. When you get the lesson, you get better, you get clearer, you get more. You know, power isn't about this kind. It's about whoosh, where you can just be and feel and see with your eyes closed and your mouth shut, a smile on your face. So that energy, Brianna, can you see me? That energy around you is swirling. And when that energy swirls, you get lifted up. Love. Get the lesson. Ask and then listen and then do it. With that, Valentine's Day.
I don't know what else to say. No. Anytime leaning back, I know it's like, we got this thing around here where lady self speaks. Everybody's just like, it's like a force of nature. It is so wonderful to hear that Bereolaesque, this whole concept, I'll call it concept, this whole love that comes from you is considered that being made into a movie. That's wonderful. What's the next book about? The one that you're writing now, being a dad, and I know that also all this comes from a place of love. So just wow.
So much to say to Lady Estelle, but I'll just say, that wow. To be able to like shift energy through a computer screen is a whole different type of love. But anyway, Black Dad is the fourth book that I'm writing, and it's kind of, like the idea came about in quarantine because my son had to get. Well, first of all, we had a child, our baby girl, in February of last year, February 25th, and a week later the world shut down. So I was like, Dad, and then my son, who goes to daycare, wasn't going to daycare for 4 months. So I was like double dad. And the guy who travels on planes and goes all over the world was at home, and my wife was going to work. So I was like triple dad. And initially I was like afraid. And again, fear, that thing that fear does. Oh, fear, let me lean into that. Let me go seek that out. And I just dived into fatherhood in a way that a lot of people aren't fortunate, because I was with my kids 24/7, and I've been with my daughter every single day since she was born. And it's a different experience to surrender to love in that way, because there is no escape. There is no plane. There are no planes, there are no trips, there are no bookings, and virtual, but not like me leaving. So I really was interested in, I've always been interested in being a father and being a dad. And I would always ask fathers, what's it like being a dad, before I had my son. And being a father is like this fraternity, this invisible fraternity that you don't know exists unless you become one. And I remember my first time in the airport with my son on a trip to California, and all these dads were looking at me. And I knew they were dads eventually, because I was chugging my son's stroller through the airport, and had all these bags and way too much luggage for the first trip because I didn't know what I was doing. Way too many bags, and just going. And they were just looking at me like shaking their head and laughing and stuff. And then I think one time the stroller fell, and I'm like scrambling to pick it up. And then one of them kind of gave me a look like, "You good?" And I got it up, and I soon realized, oh, these are all fathers. Like, I'm a part of this fraternity, that I knew nothing about. I knew about, but I didn't know about. And, there's also this love that fathers have that they don't really talk about. The same love that mothers have for their kids, right? We just kind of wear it differently, but it's there. And, there's so much to say about fatherhood, and specifically Black fatherhood. There's so many different entry points and so much to consider and so much to learn, not only from dads speaking to dads, from sons understanding their fathers, from daughters understanding their fathers, from wives understanding their husbands. It's just intergenerational. It's all across the board. There's this nucleus that is undiscussed, misunderstood, and undiscovered. And it's like this secret society that I want to expose to the world in a beautiful form. I've been having lots of conversations with my dad, lots of conversations with myself, lots of conversations with God. And it's going to be a beautiful book, because it's, again, positioned in the way that allows you to see us, allows the world to see us. And we're not a monolith. And, we aren't like superheroes just because we're fathers, right? Like you see a black dad and you're like, oh my gosh, you're such a good dad. Like, I'm a good dad because why? Because I'm pushing my daughter because I'm carrying my daughter and she's like cute, and like, you're like, why am I good? Why does that make me an anomaly or a good dad? Like, there's just so much to say. So I've been very still and in solitude and writing and listening and learning and reporting my findings. So I'm super excited. Like I've done some, I guess I can't really talk about it because it's not out yet, but I've done some TV spots on Black fatherhood, and I'm really immersed in that community. And I've learned to surrender to what's real in my life and not try to go back and reach back to the past, but I'm a Black dad. There's no escaping that. It's real in my life. And, I always baptize myself in like what's real in my life and what I'm experiencing at a particular time. So I certainly have a lot to say about it.
Man, you're going to love being a dad for a long time. It's the coolest thing in the world. Let me just tell you, right?
I would have never heard that from you.
Ain't nothing better. Ain't nothing better. That's the
man.
Word in any language for a man. Dad, padre, just translate the whole thing. It is like, yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
enjoy it, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like it's young. Like I have young kids, right? Like I have one about to be one next week and 5 years old. So like I haven't experienced middle school, high school, college, adult, all of these grandchildren, all these things, but I can see them through my father's lens, or I can project myself into my grandparents and look back and say to myself, wow, I thought I knew what love was. Like, as much as I love my son and my daughter, they love me more because they've been around longer, and love is expansive. And the more you dwell in it, the more infinite it is.
Infinite. That seems to be the theme for tonight. Valentine's Day, love. We've kept you, man, it's got to be 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock back there.
It doesn't matter.
Let me just tell folks once again, Enitan Bereola, author of the books Bereolaesque, the Contemporary Gentleman and Etiquette Book for the Urban Sophisticate, Gentlewoman, Etiquette for a Lady from a Gentleman, and The Gray, a Relationship Etiquette Book, and the forthcoming
Black Dad.
Black Dads. All right.
Black Dad. Yeah, we're doing like a whole clothing line, like dad clothes, and just a whole thing to accompany it. Like clothes dads and sons can wear, because black fathers in general, like we don't necessarily dress like my generation of fathers, or although you're super dapper, you're an exclusion, but typically there's like dads who wear like clothes that maybe we wouldn't wear, but as a father now, I'm still the kids in high school is trying to keep up with me, the kids in middle school, like, where'd you get those shoes, man? So it's a different thing. So I think there's a lane that has not been addressed, you know, for fathers, right, to just like dad clothes. Because when you think of dad clothes, it's typically a negative kind of connotation. There's no specific imagery that you visualize, except maybe just the wrong jeans, or you know. But today's dad and beyond, even like you, right? It's this. We live in a different era, so there's a new language for fathers, and I just want to try to be able to communicate that.
The journey is going to be wonderful. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yes.
Oh, it's going to be wonderful. Let me give you a chance to mention St. Miles. You're the co-founder of St. Miles Creative Agency. Just say a little bit about that. I know that's your new venture.
Yes.
With your co-founder. Say a little bit about that before we get you out of here.
Well, actually, my son is a co-founder. His name is Miles, and my business partner's son's name is Saint. So the two of them are the owners, and we're just the workers. We're the workhorses. So they own the company St. Miles Creative Agency. And we wanted to really put our kids in position, number one, to have some equity, to build a legacy, and to present an opportunity for them to see, like, not just their fathers working for them, but their fathers working in a different way. You know, like we work from home in this quarantine, and the company got formed before quarantine, but my son asked me tons of questions. It's a creative agency, so he gets to draw. He made the business card. I don't know if you can, this little card.
Oh yeah, my God.
So that's like his design. So he gets to participate in something that is a real company that generates real revenue. So, you know, we in my dealings with Bereolaesque and all the books and all of that, the tours and all that, like that was all in house. You know, we were handling our own PR, our own everything. It's our own machine, and corporation.
Oh no, is he frozen or is it me?
Was it frozen?
Oh, you're back. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So corporations and brands took notice to what we were doing internally with the books in that machine, and we formed a company. My partner Steve Canal and I, and you know, we just really wanted our kids involved. We wanted them to present the opportunity for them to, if they want to, you know, at some point, like take it over. It's there for them to take over. If not, the employees will be building and generating their lifestyle as they pursue what they want to pursue.
How wonderful. That's wonderful.
Thank you, man. Thank you for.
Thank y'all.
Well, you know, the whole point was to catch you in this moment in time. To say how proud, and this may sound corny, but it's not, we are of you. To just be blessed that we were there at the beginning.
Still here.
And then, you know, like any proud, what do you want to call it, family members, elders in the family, we just to see our young people grow and be all that they can be, is just fills us with joy. And you know, as long as we're around, we're gonna catch you as you move, keep moving and keep moving and keep moving and keep moving. But for our young people, it's important to know, you know, that they just go ahead and do your thing, and you know, believe in it. Stay humble. I always say, you know, stay humble. Humility will definitely help you along the way. And it's just been great. It was fortunate this was Valentine's Day. It's fortunate that your wife said yes. How can folks get in touch with you? Leave them with a way to get the books, hear more about you, hear more about St. Miles, because St. Miles is getting ready to do some big stuff. All the people you want to, where I read about what you want to do, what you want to represent, who you're going to be in touch with, and so on and so forth. How can let folks know how they can find Enitan Bereola?
For sure. I mean, you know, this day we live in now, social media is access. So, you know, whether it's Clubhouse, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the social media platforms, it's at Bereolaesque. And, I've always been the same cat through and through. So, just like the conversation we had tonight, catch me at the right time. I'll have the same conversation with a stranger who's in need, who needs something. So, all social platforms, which will lead you directly to my website, Bereolaesque.com. It's all under Bereolaesque. And, yeah, we've been busy with St. Miles. We don't even publicly promote at this point, but like our client roster is pretty heavy. So it's been a blessing. It really has been a blessing. I mean, we're building the infrastructure, but the clients keep coming. So we can be reached. I don't know if we'll have room on the client list or not, but certainly reach out. We have a writer's house, where we publish dope authors and we help them through that journey. It's just, look, I'll say this in closing, I guess, that I'm 39 and I still have a long way to go because I'm going to die when I'm 100. It's going to be natural causes and go to sleep and I'm just not going to wake up. No diseases, no nothing. But I'll be next to my wife and we'll both be, well, I'll be 100. Okay, I'll be 103. She'll be 100. So, but I still sit in a seat where I have now seen like a generational shift where the kids I used to speak to in college have now grown. The kids that were like, I was going to their high schools and middle schools, they're now like in college. So there's a bunch of people I mentor as well and just have like fed and breathed life into. And I see them rising. And there's so much importance. Like I understand a little bit, you all see the value in giving back and the value in like being an example and just like the real value in that. Like you hear it, but once you start kind of like embedding yourself in that, it's a different thing. So I really applaud you all and I thank you all. Thank you all for continuing to support me and just loving me through and through. It really means a lot. Like it's beyond just a text message or a phone call or hey, just hop on. It really does something to my spirit and it validates me on my journey and lets me know that I'm exactly where I should be because y'all are from way back and you're still here. So that says to me, okay, keep going, right? Like you haven't gone astray. You haven't lost your wits or lost your way. Like keep going. And the things you share with me, Dr. Marshall, the books you share and just what you say to me, like that feeds my soul in a very direct way. So on the days where I may not feel like, I'm tired, I'm like, like I can go back to that. Like if I fall on that and that'll get me back up. So it's just important that you hear that. You have so many lives you've impacted, but this is just one of them. And you, Lady Estelle, you're just a whole, just.
Everyone knows. Everyone who knows me knows my life is built on the more you know, the more you owe. As you grow and progress in life, so much you help others do likewise. That's my grandmother. And anything I give you, somebody put it into me. And the best things in life are free. So I'm just kidding. I'm giving what I know, as Coach would say, works. So just thanks. Thank you, man. Thank you. And we got assignments. Mine is to see Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, right? Listen.
I got to see it. And I got to get HBO Max, right? Because I ain't got it, or go over somebody's house that got it.
It's amazing.
And I know, because I know the story, and I hesitate because I know the story, and I know it's going to be painful, but I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it. And yours is too, which would be a lot harder. You want me to send you the book? I'll do it. Read one chapter and we'll wrap.
Yes, absolutely. No, I got the audiobook as soon as you said so. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Anne has been like so down and loyal from day one as well. And I told you before, the first person to put me on camera and made me feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm on camera and there's an edited video. It's like, I think this is becoming real. This thing I'm doing is becoming real. And goodbye, I still have that video. And I have a video on my phone of me recording me. So, thank you. And the last thing I have to add on Love Day, if I have any moment at all,
it's Love Day.
In the beginning in July of last year, 2020, my mom let us know that she had this very, very rare cancer that totally came out of nowhere, and it was extending. It was started in her lung. It was extending to her heart, and it caught the whole family by surprise. And we began to pray, and we began to believe, and we began to lean into faith, a different type of faith, not just like that word faith, just a different, higher level, not existing here, but on a totally different level, and really living that and breathing that and believing. And the doctors were just kind of trying to make her comfortable, and there was no cure. And this is like 0.1% of the people that have this sarcoma. It's a no, it's not a good thing. As of maybe 2 months ago, she called us and let, of course, there's a whole journey in between, but let us know that there is no cancer at all in her body. There's no cancer in the X-rays and the CAT scans. There's no sign, no trace. The doctors are dumbfounded. They're claiming it a miracle. They don't know what to say. And I have to share that because I said that love is it's all encompassing. It's nothing. Darkness can't exist where there is love, and it will take over and just, you know, where love exists, the only love exists. And the family really banded together, and strangers and prayer groups and all these folks banded together and believed and leaned onto this one idea and this one thing, and it became true. And it was an impossible thing.
That's right.
It became true. So anything that anybody is dealing with that is impossible,
that you think is impossible, that somebody said was impossible. But see, we know somebody that knows somebody that if you just stay with it and don't let him forget what he said, I promise you, change is gonna happen. I know what you're talking about.
I know you know.
That's right.
I know you know, and that's all I gotta say.
And that says it all. That says it all.
This makes it Love Day show enough. I
absolutely
bless you, your work, your family, your mother, your father, your children, your grandchildren. All those things that you hope for, that you didn't know you'd ever have, what's coming, what you've been, where you're going. We just ask God to just keep you, bless you, protect you, your work, your dreams. And then let you continue to reach out and touch others and give them an opportunity, lift them up, see that they can do it better, differently, that they can, that dreams do come true. So we just thank you, and we just encourage you to keep moving forward. Nothing like faith mixed with a little bit of love. And when you got a whole lot of faith and you say, I'm not playing Jesus, you said it. And I'm holding you to your promise.
Yes.
He will.
Yes.
He will. Because he's done it before. Happy Valentine's Day.
Amen. Amen. As Jack says, amen. And amen.
Amen.
Good night,
yes.
sir. So,
there are some promises out there, and if you hold to those promises, telling you these aren't just scribes. These aren't just words. This is real. This is not real. It's true. There's a difference between truth and reality. Reality is what we can feel and see and hear and taste and touch. Satisfies our senses. What's true is always true. Will always be true. Was always true. Reality changes. Yesterday's reality is different to today. 70s reality is different than 2021. 2020's reality is different than 2021. Reality changes. Don't focus on reality, focus on the truth.
Okay.
All right, I'm done.
Love you, bro. Tell your wife and your children we said we love them too. Thank you. Be in touch soon.
Thank you so much.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Love Day.